not being on the internet is like it makes you irrelevant. So where do you win if you have social media goals? Because a lot of these things kind of clash. You need to incorporate both. Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Kate, founder of More to Life, and this is our chatty book club. Currently we are reading the book Deep Work, and I'm struggling with it. There are some incredible golden nuggets on there, but it's driving me mad how long it takes to get to the golden nuggets. Don't tell Cal Newport, but like, yeah. By the way, if this is your first time here, welcome. We talk about life improvement, planning, productivity, all that good stuff that goes into just generally improving your life. Make sure you subscribe if this is the kind of stuff that you like. Like if you are all about reaching goals, setting goals, improving yourself so that you level up to achieve those goals, then this is 100% the place for you. And also we're doing it in like more of a fun way rather than like, I've seen so much, and I just want to bring some loosey-goosey fun to it as well. Like it doesn't have to be like hustle, let's go. Like I'm all for hustle, let's go, but like let's also, I'm all cozy today because it is a windy, rainy, horrible day outside, and I was like, you know what, we're doing this one in a jumper because for this video we read up to page 100, and to be fair, there were quite a lot of insights. Let's just have a little chat, shall we? Let's get started. So first things first, there was a whole piece about the people who thrive without depth, the people who have careers in industries that like it really doesn't need that depth as such, and it does just need you to be replying to emails and problem solving as things come up. That's fine. The example he gave was Jack Dorsey, who was one of the founders of Twitter. And like that, people who are high level executives, like this probably isn't relevant to them because the distractions are kind of necessary for their jobs. If your goals are to do with building an online brand or a YouTube channel, having any kind of side hustle, the deep work is crucial. Speaking of those of us who have goals like that, like online business, social media, content creation, something came up that was pretty specific to that. If you have a business with clients, customers, or even followers, not being constantly available protects your productivity. Yes, we know that. That's basic. But it also enables your clients or followers or whatever, their productivity. And if you're in this to serve, isn't that what you want? You don't want to be diminishing other people's productivity because you are constantly replying to them, even if you're replying to them with value. I often remember Brian Keane Fitness. He's an Irish like fitness and mindset social media person or whatever. I listened to a lot of his stuff a few years ago, kind of 2018 time, because I had a fitness business. And I remember him saying on his podcast that he only replies to Instagram DMs and stuff like that between like, I don't know, 6 and 7 a.m. or, it was 1 hour in a day. And he didn't go back to it any other time throughout the day. And there were times where I would message him or ask him a question in DMs or something, and he would follow through with that. He would only reply at that time. So like I can see he's holding those boundaries firm, and he is very successful. Okay, just looked him up. He is, it's probably difficult to see, and if I hold it closer it'll be out of focus. So he is verified on Instagram, 119,000 followers. He's the host of the #1 show, the Brian Keane podcast, 3-time best-selling author, corporate wellness speaker. So like obviously he's doing shit in the world, you know what I mean? And that's just Instagram. I'm sure he's probably on TikTok and stuff as well. Point being, to grow on social media, being really present and like having kind of omnipresence across all platforms is like really encouraged. It's like you have to be posting on Instagram stories, you have to be posting on TikTok, you have to be posting on YouTube, like all these things, and you have to be everywhere at all times. And while there is merit in that, and like yes, that's going to be very helpful for growing your brand and stuff, there's also the flip side. It's like, okay, you're also possibly hurting your productivity and other people's productivity as well. So where can we find the balance with that? Those of us who desire a career in content creation or social media in some way have to be especially careful with this and protective over our time and our boundaries. Also, in the book, he talks about having this culture of connectivity, which we so do. It's like if you message someone, email someone, you kind of expect, unless they're like super famous or have a huge following, you kind of expect that like they'll reply at least within a couple of hours. Potentially you even have an expectation somewhere in your brain that they'll reply within minutes. It's interesting because we expect that that is going to make us more productive if we are, for example, let's use emails. Like you're constantly replying to emails, but the scientific research, okay, according to the research, this actually doesn't help us. It actually hurts our well-being and productivity. And if you don't have this culture of connectivity, at least you don't ascribe to it, the findings are that you're more likely to have more work enjoyment, better communication, more learning, and this is, specific to businesses, but a better product delivered to the client. So definitely interesting to think about if you have a business side hustle, or even if you're trying to use this deep work process in your corporate job. Okay, moving on. We have busyness as a proxy for productivity. In the absence of clear indicators of what it means to be productive and valuable, like in your job, can also be applied to goals though. Many people turn back to doing lots of stuff in just a visible manner, therefore convincing both yourself and other people that you're busy, when realistically you're probably not actually getting the work that you should be getting done. And my question for you is, what are you trying to prove by being visibly busy? How many times do we wear busyness as like a badge of honor? And it's like, oh hey, haven't seen you in ages, like how have you been? Oh my, I've been so busy, like so busy. Oh, like why why do we do that? Why do we think that just being busy makes us more valuable or worthy as a person? Just saying, dropping that bomb on you, because I feel like we romanticize it a lot, and realistically, is it making our lives better? Potentially not. So just to bring a bit of intention to this, just look at all the tasks you do and ask yourself, okay, is this task actually valuable, actually moving the needle, or is it really just for me to seem busy? Even if they're not necessarily tasks that you're doing in front of people, just having a full to-do list is like, again, like a badge of honor. Sometimes we it's like, oh my god, I have so much to do, I'm so busy. What if you don't have to be? Also, maybe logging on, like digitally, talking about social media or logging into your emails or what or whatever seems productive, but realistically logging off is actually the productive part. But then it's about finding the balance, because on the flip side, specifically to if you have a side hustle or you're building social media, not being on the internet is like, it makes you irrelevant. Specifically from the book, it says to not embrace all things internet is invisible and therefore irrelevant. Like, there's so much, like, nobody wants to be irrelevant. But like, how do you find the balance of like, yes, I'm actually getting things done and I'm still relevant? So where do you win if you have social media goals? Because a lot of these things kind of clash. Here's my opinion on it. You need to incorporate both shallow work days and deep work days into your week. That way you stay visible and connected where you need to, but you also stay disconnected and productive, and you get to reap the rewards of disconnecting as well. So then there is this whole piece on attention, and what we choose to focus on or ignore plays a huge role in defining the quality of our life. I was kind of confused, well, not confused, but surprised that it went into this, because I was like, oh, this is kind of like a laws of the universe kind of approach. And I mean, I'm not complaining, I'm really into that stuff, because generally, and this is from the book, we put emphasis on our circumstances and that what happens to us determines how we feel. And from this perspective, like those small scale details of how you spend your time isn't important. Like, From that perspective, you're only ever just looking at, okay, where do I currently live? How much am I making? Am I happy in my relationships? Do I have blah, 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 blah? And that's all that matters. Whereas the actual ins and outs of your day doesn't end up mattering. And realistically, we only have this current moment right now. And now this one, and now this one, and now this. I mean, I could go on forever. But he wraps it up really nicely in saying who you are, what you think, feel, and do, and what you love is the sum of what you focus on. So, as helpful as it can be to say what you focus on expands, looking at it this flipped way, kind of, I don't know, for me, it just gives me that fresher perspective. I'm like, oh, if it's the sum of what you focus on, like let's say you live every day for the rest of, or for the next 7 days, you live with that at the forefront of your mind. What would you do differently in that sense? I mean, you probably don't even know because you're not living like that. So, how can you even go there hypothetically? And it's this concept of improving your world without anything concrete actually changing in it, which is really beautiful if you think about it. Because all we ever really want in our life is to feel good, right? Probably the goals that you have or the challenges you want to overcome, these are all things that when you get to that next point, on some level, you just know that's going to make you feel better, or at least you think it's going to make you feel better. How you spend your free time, the things you eat, the people you're friends with, the person you're in a relationship with, all of these things, we make decisions on these things based on this ideal of I want to feel better or feel better than I do right now. So why don't we just live like this? Focusing on those positives and being completely detached from having the thing. Now, don't get me wrong, like, I know you want the thing, and I know you're sitting there thinking, like, oh, another one of these telling me, like, not to want the thing. That's not what I'm saying, because I know you want the thing. I want the thing too. The thing being the goal, the exploration, the passion, the whatever. But won't the journey be significantly better in the meantime if you're focusing on these things? The positives, definitely something to think about. Okay, moving on again. This is a direct quote, right? The best moments usually occur when a person's body or mind is stretched to its limits in a voluntary effort to accomplish something difficult and worthwhile. That was, I actually felt a bit of resistance when I read that because I was like, you're telling me I can't be fully fulfilled unless my body and mind is like stretched to its max? Like, ugh. But I do know what he's trying to say. And it's kind of comes back to that idea of flow. Like, if you're doing what you love, then it's not as like, ugh, to think about really stretching your body and mind. Isn't it like people who run marathons and they run and run and run, they get to this point where it's like an ecstasy. They don't feel the pain of it anymore. They don't feel the breathlessness anymore. They just feel on top of the world and like they could go forever. So maybe we need to incorporate more fun challenges into our lives and like actually challenge ourselves. I don't know. I'm curious of your thoughts on that one because that seems like quite an interesting one. Not something that I've really considered myself. There is another part in the book where he said that people were much happier at work and less happy relaxing than they kind of expected themselves to be. And all I have to say on this, as much as I'm like, no, it can't be. I don't want it to be like that. I obviously, I just got back from Crete last week, and there was this one day where me and my boyfriend, we spent basically the whole day, like hours, at this beach club, and it was on the, obviously it was on the beach, but they had these hammocks and you could just order your food from the hammock and you could order your drinks from the hammock. And when I'm thinking about it now, I'm like, oh my god, bliss, absolute bliss. Like, why would I ever want to anything different than that, being in that moment? And like, obviously right now I'm looking out at the pissing rain and I'm like, bring me back my hammock. However, I had so much anxiety on that day. Now, granted, I wasn't feeling very well because it was the beginning of the air conditioning messing with my system and I wasn't really sure what was going on. And with the emetophobia, I had a bit of anxiety about like, oh my god, what is wrong with my body? I wasn't sure if I was like sick. But point is, I was in this idyllic situation, and it was beautiful, and it was like 30 degrees, but I was in the shade. It was warm but a nice breeze that was cooling me down, and like it was amazing. But I had so much anxiety and I couldn't relax until like the last hour or so, and I was like, yeah, this is fine, whatever. Just interesting. A lot of us probably need a little more practice at the whole relaxing thing than we think we need, because for most of us, we don't actually know the last time we really relaxed. We say we're going to chill out for the evening, but we end up spending most of it scrolling on our phones. Like, hands up if you've been there. And then there's also this idea that you have a finite amount of willpower that becomes depleted as you use it. This was literally, I'm pretty sure this was on page 100. So I didn't even read the whole page, but it was kind of getting into it. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. But like, I mean, we're going to have the next video anyway. But it was described as like a muscle that tires. But that's the thing about muscles. You can make muscles stronger. You can make them bigger. You can give them more capacity for weight or resistance. So, I mean, that's genuinely how I see willpower, and I kind of use willpower and discipline interchangeably. But if we see it that way, first of all, you want to protect that finite amount of willpower that you have. So that's where the boundaries come in. Second of all, you want to strengthen that muscle where you can also. So strengthen the willpower when you can. That's where breaking out your comfort zone comes into play, where you can push your limits, push your boundaries, and be able to step into situations that make you really fucking nervous or scared or anxious or like just uncomfortable, so that you just learn that actually this is safe, and then next time you can push a little further, and then next time you can push a little further. Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt, you have zero limits. That is actually the end of my insights for this section of the book. So if you're reading along, did you have any other insights yourself? Is there anything you're like, bing, this part really, really resonated with me? Like, let me know. I'm really curious. I want this to be a conversation. I want to chat with you about it because, I mean, we're all just trying to figure this shit out, aren't we? But I'm going to leave the video here. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please do leave a little cheeky little like, and follow on Instagram and TikTok at More to Life Kate. And yeah, I'll see you next week. Bye. You know what, Mike? Why don't you come a little closer?